I want to go fast. I want to go fast. I want to go fast. Hey folks, we're back again with another video, and today we're going to be working on a Rockshox SID Ultimate fork. This is the C1 chassis version of a SID Ultimate with 35mm stanchions, and it comes with a Raceday damper. We're going to be doing a full service on this fork, full lower, full air spring, and full damper, but since it's a Raceday damper, there's very minimal that needs to be done to the actual damper itself. This is a super easy job, and if you own one of these forks, there is no reason why you shouldn't be performing your own service on this fork and doing it regularly, minimum once a year, in order for this thing to perform like it was designed to and to get you speed demons out there breaking those comms, all right? So with that being said, let's get into the tools and parts needed for the job. As for tools, as always, we're going to break it out into 3 sections, right? 50-hour service, air spring service, and then the damper service. So first we're going to start off with the 50-hour service, and we're going to go by order of use. So if you line up your tools in this manner, for all my videos, it'll make it easier to actually perform the service because you should have all the right tools at the right time. No matter the part, safety glasses, the most important tool, all right? So make sure you wear your safety glasses, especially during the bleed process, all right? So for starters, you're gonna need a pen and a paper, a pencil and a paper to write down your settings and on air pump in order to, well, read your PSI so you can remember it later on. Then we're going to be going to the bottom of the fork, and we're going to remove the nut and the bolt. The nut is a 10mm socket. The bolt is a 5mm Allen, and you will need an extension on your ratchet because it's pretty deep in there. We are going to need a hammer in order to be able to separate the shafts on the inside from the lower boot. Then we're going to separate the lower boot. We're going to go in there. We are going to take out the foam ring using a pick, and we're going to remove the wipers. I use this ice pick tire lever tool. Does a great job, but you could use a wrench. You could use anything that'll get under there that won't destroy your lower boot, okay? Then we're going to clean the inside of the lower boot, and that we need paper towel, alcohol, a dowel, and I use a rubber band. I got my own method. We will go over that in that portion of the video. So then we just cleaned everything. Now it's time to put everything back together. To put the wiper back on, we need a wiper installation tool, 35mm in this case, since it's a 35mm shock. Put everything together. Then we need to fill up each lower with 10 milliliters in this case of oil. We'll go over the oils later. So you need a syringe in order to be able to inject 10 milliliters of oil. And we need a Torx wrench in order to be able to torque everything down. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, you need an oil pan. You're going to need an oil pan to, when we separate it, for the oil to go into so it could drain, all right? Next up, let's go into the air spring tools. Air spring tools are simple enough. First, we need to remove the cap. We're going to need a cassette tool with a ratchet in order to remove the cap. Then we need to go underneath. There's going to be a retaining ring. We need a retaining ring plier to remove the retaining ring. Now, you can try and pull out the air spring by hand. I have this little tool, costs you about $1 to make. If you go to your local hardware store, it's an M8 bolt with fender washers and a nut in order to help you have more leverage and grip to pop out the air spring. We're going to go change a few seals. So pick a blunt pick, definitely a blunt pick or a plastic pick. And then we're going to have to put grease in there. We'll go over that later. You're going to need a syringe to put a little bit of oil on the air spring, on both a little bit on the bottom and a little bit on top. We are going to clean the upper tube, dowel with paper towel and alcohol. In fact, paper towel and alcohol to clean everything. And we will need a torque wrench in order to torque down the top cap one more time. All right, next up, the damper tools. As for the damper, barely any tools needed. First, we need to take off the knob on the compression side, so a 2mm Allen, and then we need to remove the entire damper, 24mm flat, chamferless socket. You want a flat socket. They barely give you enough room as is. You do not want a beveled socket, all right? So then we're going to need a T10, come on, just keep it consistent. A T10, a Torx bit to take out the bleed screws so we can empty out the oil. And then we're going to need a syringe. This is your typical SRAM brake syringe, but do not mix dot fluid with oil at any time. If you can't clean yours thoroughly, just get a new syringe, guys. These are not expensive. You can get them for real cheap these days on Amazon, so you could have a spare set, right? And then once again, the upper stanchion, we're going to clean with a dowel, paper towel, and alcohol. In fact, we're going to clean everything with alcohol. And that's it for all the tools. Next up, let's go into the seals, oils, and grease needed for the job. As for parts and oil, we're going to start off with the seal kit. This is a C1 chassis, part number 00.4318.025.211. This is a 200-hour kit for a 35mm SID, C1 and D1 chassis. We're not going to be using all the parts in here, but it has all the main parts we will need. Oils. Start off with the damper side. This is a Raceday damper. 3-weight oil is what we need for that one. If you have a different damper, then chances are you probably will need 7-weight oil. So make sure you know which damper you have inside your fork. As for the lowers, we have 2 options over here. We could go with the Plush Heavy, the Maxima Plush Heavy, or you could still use the 0W30. Both oils are forward and backward compatible with SRAM butter or dynamic grease. I'm a bigger fan of SRAM butter. I am not a fan of dynamic grease at all. So I'm going to be using SRAM butter in this case, even though the Rockshox manual says dynamic grease. All right, and that's all we need for parts and tools. Let's get on to the job. As always, before we work on a fork or a shock, we want to make sure that it is clean and free of dirt and mud, okay? With forks, you want to check the inside of the steer, make sure there's no mud or dry dirt in there, behind the crown, and inside the boot where the bolts go into, right? You do not want dirt falling into any parts of a fork or a shock while working on it, or even more important, while closing it up. So first, we're going to start off with writing down our settings on this guy. We're going to start off with the rebound. So Raceday has its own custom Allen key as opposed to a knob, and we're going to turn it counterclockwise towards the rabbit and count the clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 clicks. So our rebound on this guy is 13. Go to the air pressure. Now, since this is a Raceday, they try and save weight. It's just a simple cap. Might be a little bit stiff. There we go. Take the cap, pull it off, put it on the side. I'm going to take our shock pump. We're going to measure the air that's in there. And we have 77.5 psi, so 77.5, but we lose a good amount actually. So let's say max 5 psi, probably 3 to 5 psi. So 77.5 plus 3 to 5, for instance, right, as a start. And that's just as a start, basically. So we're going to take out our air pressure. We're going to take it out slowly. All right. Whew, fishy, 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 fishy. Now, in order to make sure that the air pressure is completely out, we're going to test it. Take this guy out. Bring this guy over here. Put him on here. Grab a small piece of paper towel. Right? And any Allen key or anything that's flat that will depress the valve. And basically what we're going to do is take them, depress the valve, sink them all the way down, let go of the valve. Okay, and we'll do that one more time just to be 100% sure. All the way down, let go, and let them go up. Now we know all the air is gone for sure. And I was going to go down there and remove the rebound knob. The rebound knob just came off. And we'll put it on the side. Next, we open her up. To separate them, we're going to need our 10mm socket and our 5mm Allen socket. We're going to start off with the rebound side, which is a 10mm socket. I'm going to put our socket in there. An extension helps, right? Because this is in there pretty deep. That was pretty tight. I'm going to take this guy, loosen him, and then move him by hand. We need to remove this guy completely first. He is not like the air side. There is a nut as opposed to a bolt. There's our nut, and there's no crush washer in here, which means that it's probably stuck inside. And, oh wow, there's no crush washer on this thing. Whoever last serviced this thing forgot to put a crush washer in it. Oh well, we will solve that problem when we close it all up. Now we go on to our air side, 5mm Allen. Put him in here. Well, we'll put him on the socket. Make sure he is on the bolt. Oh, he was super tight too. Now with this guy, 1, 2, 3 full turns. Then remove the ratchet. We're going to grab our hammer. There we go. I just felt them separate. You can turn them one more time just to be sure. And he's good. Yep, you could hear the hair escape. Now, we're going to take this 5mm and do the same to the axle on this side. The inside of the axle is a 5mm. All right, so we're going to take them and we're just going to pop them. There we go. We should, oops, this guy's stuck in there. Come on. There we go. All right, now we take out the bolt on this side before we separate them. And there's our bolt. Crush washer's on it. Chances are the crush washer is always going to be on this bolt. The other one, they just didn't put one in. Now we separate them. To separate them, we need our oil pan, and we're just going to detach the top from the bottom. Right? Holy cow. Wow. What do you guys see wrong with this picture? There is 0 oil inside this thing on both the damper and on the air spring. And look at all that dirt, all that debris. That's all sand bits on the air spring side. That is not good. There's also sand bits on the damper side, but wow, that sucks. Yeah, there is literally 0 oil in this thing. 0. None on each side. Okay, that's not good, but well, at least we don't have to wait to drain. Before we remove the wipers, what we're gonna do, in your case, there should be oil in here because there should have been oil, at least 10 milliliters in the damper side. What you're gonna do in your case, while we're working on the lower boot, is take some towel, plug it up in here, because when you put it on the side and if there is oil inside, that oil will slowly creep out and it'll make a mess wherever you're at. So if you do this, the towel will absorb the oil that will want to come out while we're working on this thing, okay? Next, we're going to take out the foam ring and the wipers. So first, we're going to start off with the foam ring. Yeah, look how dry that is. That is so bad. That is like nearly completely dry. That's like horrible. So you do not want your foam rings to dry up like that. And I'm assuming this one's going to be the same thing. Yep, just about completely bone dry. That's, wow, that's not good. Okay, when it comes to wipers, technically you could save your wipers if you regularly service your forks, right? In other words, check them every 50 hours and put 50, 60 hours. Again, it doesn't have to be every 50 hours, guys. That's just a recommendation as a checkpoint. Depending on where you ride, how you ride, the conditions you ride, right? Regularly servicing your forks and putting fresh grease in here and fresh oil will maintain the wipers for longer, right? These wipers are going to get changed, but if you wanted to keep your wipers and maintain them, take off the springs first before we go in there and we take out the wipers. To take out the wipers, better off on the ground doing this. Use your wrench or some kind of tool that has some kind of leverage. I use this Ice Tools tire lever, and there we go. That is one wiper, and that is the other wiper. Gone. Next, we move forward with my ritual of cleaning the inside of lower boots. To clean the lower boots, I have my little method over here, which includes A, towel, paper towel, full sheet paper towel, and a rubber band with lots of alcohol, okay? The goal over here is to first break up the oil inside, and you know what? I still need to, wow. Look at all that mud. That is so bad, guys. That is literally mud. That's inside the air spring. That is so not good. Wow. Hopefully the bushings are in good shape. Okay, I'm just going to put this guy on the side. But to give you an idea, I mean, like I said, there's literally like sand in here. So I'm going to put this guy on the side for now, all right? So what we're going to do first is we're going to do our best to try and plug up that hole on the bottom, right? In fact, let me start with the air side first. This is deeper. We're going to plug up the hole on the bottom with our fingers. If your finger can't reach over there, try and find something to put in between your finger and the hole to plug it up. And then what we're going to do in this case is I'm going to really fill it up with alcohol, considering there's literally sand in this thing. I'm going to put a good amount of alcohol in here. Okay, and then what we're going to do, the goal here is to break up the the oil on the walls. Okay, and then flush it on the wider side first. And I'm going to do it maybe 3 times just to make sure. Nope, see, there's mud on the bushings. Mud just came out of the bottom. That's literally what just happened. So I'm definitely going to do this more than twice. Usually 2 times is all you need to do this. But considering the shape that this one's in, even though there's no oil in there, I want to make sure I get rid of all that sand and dirt that's in there. Wow. I could literally see sand and dirt, mud basically, stuck on the side over here underneath the lower bushing. Holy cow. That is so not good. I can't imagine what some of these guys at the factories, service centers see annually, considering they go through like 1,000 of these things a year. Okay, so that's the best for now, right? Then we're going to take our dowel, leave 1.5 inches on top, and we're going to loosely, see what I mean? We're going to loosely wrap the paper towel around it. Okay. Tear open some of the edges over there so we get like a mopping action. We're going to take this guy, we're going to put him all the way down to the bottom first and let him soak up. Spin him counterclockwise first to get some of that mopping action going. Look at that. That, guys, for the inside of a air spring, that is dirty. That should not happen. That's because there was no oil in there. Probably also because there was no crush washer. Well, the crush washer wasn't on the damper side. Still, I mean, I'm sure that's in bad shape too. But ultimately, there was no oil in there, no grease in there. And the foam ring, which is supposed to catch that dirt, wasn't able to do its job. Let's do that one more time. Again, camera overheated, so we're going to loosely wrap them. Put the rubber band in the middle. Tear off a good chunk on the top layer. Spray the inside again real well. Put this guy in there. Let him soak up the bottom. Spin him counterclockwise first. All right, and just clean them up. Okay, Well, I still see signs of dirt and mud. I'm going to do them a third time. Chances are, if you well maintain your forks, you shouldn't have to do it more than twice. Another thing to notice is, or to note, I should say, is clean up around here. Make sure that there is no dirt up here. Also clean off the bottom best you can, right? Dig in there and clean off everything you can. See what I mean? There's dirt down there. You might not see it, but it is down there. Okay, so repeat the same thing to the other side. I'm not going to record it. It's the exact same process. Just clean them out best you can, and then we will move on to the next step. We cleaned it out best we could. It is now completely spotless inside. That took a lot of cleaning. So now what we are looking at is the bushings. You got one bushing up here, another bushing down here on both sides, right? And we are looking, these things are supposed to be smooth with no marks on them. And looking at the upper bushing, you're better off looking against light, but it's very hard for me to do that over here. I'm using the reflection of the light. The upper bushings, well, there is some rubbing over here. That's not too bad. They look good. The lower bushings right off the bat, there is a lot of scoring. I don't know if you can see it, but all this side is completely scored. This is the damper side. Some big scratch mark down here. And the rest looks okay. Actually, there's good rub marks over here on this side. This guy over here has significant scoring and scratch marks all the way down the bottom. I mean, I don't know if you guys could see them good. I don't know. I don't think you guys can be able to see that well, but right around this area over here, try and do it slowly. Maybe you could by fluke see it, but there is a lot of vertical lines up and down. So that's a lot of scoring. The top part of it, pretty clear. A couple of scratches, nothing significant at all. But the bottom part on this side definitely has a whole bunch of vertical scratch lines and scoring on it, right? Usable, yeah, but man, you need oil in these things, guys. Do your 50-hour service. It's easy. Like I said, it doesn't have to be every 50 hours. It could be 60, maybe 70, but it could also be 30 or 40 if you ride in real wet, muddy conditions where it's constantly being packed with mud, right? So it all depends on where you ride and how you ride. So just keep up with your 50 hours, guys, all right? Next step, also, I cleaned the bumper. This thing had mud inside it and mud around it. So take off all the mud. We do not want any sand, mud, or anything inside a lower boot, okay? Next, what we're gonna do is prep our foam rings by saturating them, right? So we're gonna take our little container over here. We're gonna put our foam rings inside. Grab the foam rings from our lower leg kit within the seal kit, right? Fill it up with oil. Don't put too much, but put some excess because we'll be using that extra oil for the lowers when we finish everything up. Take these guys, too much oil in there. Way too much oil in there, but it's okay. Make sure you close them up. Ooh, there's a piece of dirt in there. Okay, at least he's visible. I'll see him later. He'll probably sink to the bottom. Close them up and put them on the side so you don't spill them. Next, we will put this guy on the side and we will work on the air spring. And now for the air spring. So first we're going to start off by taking out the top cap, all right? This is where the cassette tool comes in. Take it. Might be quite a bit of force. Oh, this one's actually loose. Real loose. Like very loose. Take this guy and we're going to completely remove him. Okay. Oh, should be nearly there. There we go. All right. Grease and oil in them. That's good. Then we're going to go to the bottom. We're going to remove our bumper. That thing is muddy, like real muddy. I'm going to clean them so it doesn't make too much of a mess. It's literally got mud grit on them. I'm going to put them on the side for now. Okay. Now, we need a retaining clip tool. There is a retaining clip over here Move him over, or now squeeze him and carefully bring him out. Put him on the side. Now you could try and remove the damper with the air spring with your hands, but it's slippery and sometimes it could be in there stiff. That's where my little tool comes in. Again, an M8 bolt with fender washers and a nut, and basically there we go. He was stiff, but we got him out. All right. Next, what we're going to do, clean the tube first. To clean the tube, simple enough. We're going to take our alcohol, spray it in there. Since there's grease in there, jiggle it around just to break up the grease. All right. Well, that was supposed to go in this container. Sort of missed that. And then we're going to take a paper towel, bunch it up into a ball, making sure it's nice and tight in there, not loose. You want it tight. And we are going to take our dowel, push it through. First one will, oh, actually that's perfectly clean. So as you can see in there, that is perfectly clean. We can inspect it while we're here. And I do not see any scratches. I just see some rubbed grease on it from pushing the towel through. So that is good. Now what we can do also is clean the threads. Get all dirt off the threads and off the top over here. All right. Then take a look inside and make sure you didn't push in any dirt. We are, actually there was a little speck over there. So we are good. We could put this guy on the side and work on the air spring now. So before we work on the air spring, we want to grab the right kit. There are two air spring kits inside the seal pack. One is for a C1, the other one is for a D1. This is a C1 fork, so I need the C1 O-rings. I put them over here in line on the side, okay? This is one of the easiest air springs to work on. There's our seal head. There's our bumpers, or our bumper. Grab paper towel, clean off any old oil and grease. Get all the heavy stuff off first. Okay. Now we will start with removing this quad ring. Go underneath him, grab a blunt tool and remove him. That's the old one. Clean the seat real well. Okay. Make sure this guy's cleaned up real good. Okay. Grab our grease just to have him handy. Now, we took off quad ring. There's our new quad ring. Take grease, put him in the seat. All right. Might seem like overkill, but that will eventually come out over time. Now, put the quad ring in, the new one that we grabbed. Now make sure the quad ring is not twisted like it's twisted right there, right? So you always want to make sure your quad ring's not twisted. These things twist easily when installing them. Just go underneath them. Again, blunt tool. And done. Now he is evenly all the way around. So now what we can do, just to say we clean them, is get any old oil and grease off our bumper. And they definitely did mix oil with grease, which is a good thing. Okay, make sure this is all clean. Just go in there. Clean. Again, this guy's all clean. And now we have a seal on the inside and an O-ring on the outside. First, we're going to remove both O-rings. Larger one and the smaller one on the inside. Butterfingers. Huh? There we go. Then, let's grab paper towel. Let's go in here, clean the inside. Try and clean inside the seat by bunching it up and turning it around. Should be good there. Clean any old grease that you see at the bottom over here. And clean the seat over here. All right, let's go back in here with the pick. Clean all that excess garbage at the bottom. It's almost turning black, for crying out loud. There we go. Okay, that's our 2 old ones. Got our 2 new ones. Let's start off with the inner. We're going to grab some grease. We're going to put it inside the seat. All right. Then we're going to squish this guy. We're going to put him in. Then we're going to sink the bottom side into the seat, just like that, right? And then we're going to push down the rest of him until he sinks into his seat. And ooh, so close. Oh, there we go. All right, now we check him and he's good. Then we're going to take grease. We're going to put it onto the seat over here. All right, grab this guy, oops, and put him in just like that. One more time. Let's clean this guy real well because he definitely had grit on him. So let's spray him down. Actually, let's use a clean one. Okay. Let's go inside. Make sure he's all clean. Okay. And the last thing is our cap. We have a seal on this guy. Let's clean the threads, take all the old grease off. There's no tokens in this thing, which is sort of surprising. I would expect there to be at least one. There's our seal. Clean the seat. Look at that. Not good. Not good at all. Clean him real well. I'll grab a white one to make sure he's clean. Yep, now we're much better than what we were before. Use your nails to get under that angled area over here. See what I mean? Look at that. Doesn't look like it, but there's dirt in there. And that can go into the air spring, and the air spring side needs to be clean. You do not want scratches on the air spring side. Well, you're just taking away pressure. Your air spring's not going to work. That's what it comes down to. Okay. That takes care of that. Put a little bit of grease on this guy. A little bit too much grease. A little bit of grease on this guy. And we put him on. Clean this guy. And now we assemble. To assemble him, order of assembly. First, we're going to put a little grease on the shaft. Then, we're going to take this guy, comb part down, right? We're going to take this guy, grease on the shaft, and he goes up. Grease on the shaft, flat part down. This part goes towards the top of the air piston. All right, just like that. Now we put them back into the upper. All right, so we cleaned the inner tube. We made sure that our seat for the retaining ring is clean and that the threads are clean, right? We assembled and cleaned our air piston. We are ready to put it back together. For starters, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little bit of grease. Let's put this over here, right? And what we're gonna do is take our longest finger and coat as deep as you can. Okay. Then we're gonna take our air piston we are going to put a good amount of grease on the edge. All right. I'll put a good amount of grease on this edge. All right. Now, what we are going to do, and take our oil. We're going to fill it up 4 milliliters. All right, good enough. Make sure you cover it so you don't spill it. We're going to take 1 milliliter. Actually, we're going to take some grease. I'm going to put it here. We're going to take 1 milliliter and we are going to pour it right around here. Okay, now we're going to pick this whole thing up. Make sure it's all the way up. Okay, all the way up. We're going to take this guy, we're going to roll him in, and we're going to stuff him in. There we go, part 1. And sink him in past the seat for the retaining ring. Clean. Oop, there we go. Now make sure the shaft is all the way down as you push him up, right? We don't want any space to start off with. And we're going to take our retaining ring, we're going to put on our retaining ring plier, and we're going to carefully put it inside and make sure it, carefully put it in its seat. There we go. When it's in its seat, you should be able to spin it back and forth easily, just like that. All right. All right, so we have no suck up whatsoever. We are doing great. Next, we're going to put on our cap. Make sure there's no grease on the threads. Before we put the cap on, we're going to take the remainder of the oil and we are going to squish it in there. Now we put on our cap. By hand first, always by hand. Next, grab our cassette tool. Scroll down. Oh. Okay. Grab our torque wrench. 28 Newton meter. Right. I'm going to slap, make sure it's straight. Hold them evenly. And there we go. 28.7. All right. Take our bumper. Put them on. Yeah, I believe it was this side, this way, right? The thin part's sticking up. And then what we can do, just to protect ourselves, grab the shock pump, put a little air inside them, about 20 psi. Cool. And we are done with the air spring. And now we work on the damper. So first we're going to start off by removing that piece of cloth, paper towel that we put in there to absorb oil. Typically, oil will be in here and it will want to come out if you leave it on the ground like that. Ultimately, this fork had no oil in either leg, so this thing's bone dry. Next, we will start off with removing the knob. Now, the knob needs to be in the fully open position, so that's fully counterclockwise, right? So you got locked and open. What we're going to do in the open positions, we're going to take our 2 millimeter. This is a set screw. We only have to loosen it to a point where we can lift it up and remove the knob. You don't have to totally remove the screw, but if you do, not the end of the world. Put that on the side. Then we loosen or remove the damper itself. And for that, we're going to need a 26 millimeter chamferless socket. Make sure I'm on lock. Yep. Now this might be a little stiff. Whew, this one's loose, just like the other one. Way loose, like way, 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 way too loose. Okay. And we remove them. Come on. There we go. Ooh, look at that bulge. And that is our damper. Actually, he sounds okay, but he feels a little odd. Not sure what to make of that. He feels a little stuttery, but he actually sounds okay. So anyway, we're gonna clean him up for now. Wipe down all the oil and dirt. To clean up to the upper tube, same like the air spring side. Take some alcohol, put it in there. All right, shake it around, and then dump it out. And then we're gonna grab a paper towel, bunch it up into a ball, grab a dowel, and force it down. And it's clean already. Clean the threads. See, make sure you clean the threads. Okay. Thread should be clean. Give him one good look inside. Doesn't matter if this guy's scratched. Reality is nothing touches the wall anyway on the damper side, okay? So this guy is done. We will set him on the side and we will start with the bleed. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you technically don't need a vise to do this job. This can be bled on its own with a syringe, but a vise will make it a lot easier. It's just less to handle while you're going through the bleed, okay? So you're gonna need a vise that's gonna have around a 14 millimeter hole, but 14 millimeter hole, but you don't need, you could even use a flat soft jaw for this. You don't need to grip onto it and put pressure. You're just looking for something to literally just hold it in place so it doesn't flop around in order for you to bleed from the top with the syringe and lift the shaft up and down in order to get rid of as much air as possible, okay? Now, one thing I would recommend if you have dirt up here is to clean that. Right? Just in case some of it goes in. You do not want to take the chance. And all this is going to cost you is a few drops of alcohol and a bit of paper towel. Okay? Because this part's completely exposed on this particular damper to the outside, right? So dirt and mud collect in here. Okay. Just a little safety precaution. So for starters, what we are going to do, we're going to take our T10, this is the bleed bolt, and we're going to remove the bleed bolt. Oil will want to come out for sure. There we go. Now make sure you have your oil pan. Okay. And we are going to drain the old oil out. Just like that. And just keep on draining it, let it sit there, up and down, and get as much of the old oil out as possible. We cannot open this thing, plain and simple, right? Technically you can, but you are not going to open this thing. We emptied out all the oil from the damper. Now we put it into the soft jaw. Clamping to the soft jaw, we only want to clamp it around this area over here. Do not clamp it here. Definitely do not clamp it here, right, on the actual shaft. And don't clamp it up here. In this area, and we just want to lightly hold it. You could do this with a flat jaw. You really don't need a round soft jaw, but ultimately around a 14 millimeter hole will work just fine, okay? So we're going to put it in there and just lightly hold on to it. We do not need to put pressure, because if we put too much pressure, we might actually stop the shaft from going up and down. So we will test that. Shaft goes all the way up and down. We are good. What I will do, I cleaned out the oil pan. I'm just going to put it under here just in case we don't get much oil in here. If something happens and it spills in there, I'd rather reuse it as opposed to toss it out. So now we have our syringe. This is a typical SRAM syringe that we use for bleeding brakes. If you're going to use the same syringe you use for your brakes, make sure you absolutely clean it out completely. Do not mix that fluid with oil. That's a bad thing in all reality. These things are cheap these days. You could go buy one and have it dedicated just for your fork, all right? Another thing we're going to need later on is a rubber band and a strip of paper towel. I'll explain this when we get to that step. And make sure you have your bleed screw handy, okay, with your 3-weight oil. So the first thing we're going to do is fill up our syringe. Okay, press all the way down. Put your syringe in the oil and suck in oil. Try and fill it up about 3/4 of the way high for now. Yeah, that's good enough right there. Okay. So we're going to take our syringe and we're going to put in the bleed hole. Now this is part 1. Part 1, we are going to fill up as much oil into the damper as we can. The way we're going to do that, shaft's all the way down. We're going to press the syringe slowly, inflate the bladder, allow it to expand, right? Just put oil in there, right? Now, slowly retract. Could you see that? Hopefully you see that well. Slowly retract the syringe in order to replace air with oil. If you do it too fast, your oil is going to get super frothy, which is only going to, well, make things a little bit longer than it should be, okay? Not the end of the world if it happens, but you're just going to have to wait longer. All right, what you can do also is compress the bladder, and that will allow more air to come out in order to get replaced with oil. All right, so now it's a little bit frothy. Let those little bubbles go up a bit before we inject again to make our lives a little bit easier. All right. All right, so let's press down again. Again. Let go, let the air come up. And this is what we're doing over here. We're just displacing as much air as possible and replacing it with oil. Compress it. And when it gets to a point where we barely see any air coming out, we are going to move on to step 2. Let's do this a little bit more. Yep. Okay, so now we don't see really any major air coming out. When I squeeze it, right? Okay. Oops, well, now I just injected air in it because I ran out of oil in the syringe. Not the end of the world. Again, we squeeze, 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 squeeze hard. Okay. So right now, still got a little bit air in there. Get out, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out. There it goes. Get up. All right. Okay. Let's do that one more time. All the major stuff has been replaced. We are by far mostly oil in there now. Okay, so next step, let's press in, let go, right? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the syringe off. All right. And we're going to suck in whatever oil's in this top part. And now we're going to try and, although I'm probably going to need more oil in here, we're going to get rid of all the air. Make sure you're wearing your goggles. Make sure you have a paper towel. And basically squeeze this up until all the air is out. Then we're going to put it back in here. We're going to fill it up halfway. All right. Halfway, make sure you have as little air as possible in the system. A little bubble like that won't hurt you, right? Then we're going to take the syringe and we're going to put it back in. And next is step 2. Part 2 of this 3-part process. We have our semi-filled syringe, right? We're going to press down on it. And we're going to let it come up on its own, right? Now what we are going to do, we're going to press down, right? Let it come up. Now we're going to cycle the rebound shaft. We're going to bring it all the way up and bring it all the way down, right? So first we're going to bring it all the way up. Okay. Press the syringe up and down while it's all the way up. See if any bubbles come out. Nothing so far. Now what we're going to do is we're going to let go, press the syringe so the shaft goes all the way down. Press the syringe all the way, inflate the bladder, and let it come up. And you will slowly see some bubbles. Now we're going for really small bubbles, guys, right? And all those little ports. So we're going for real small bubbles, like the one that was just there. Okay. So the trick here is you have to give the air time to go up, okay, in order to be successful. This takes a little bit of patience. So again, let's put this guy in, let him up, put him in, let him up. Now let's cycle the shaft up. And you notice when we cycled the shaft up, all sorts of little bubbles came up. Let them go up and let the bubbles go to the top before we sink it in, right? So for instance, a little bubble over there, I got to wait for it to come up. These little bubbles will gather together and make a big bubble eventually, right? We want to get rid of all of them. That's the trick here. So press it down. Bring up the shaft. There you go. And we do this over and over and over until we don't see any bubbles anymore. Sometimes it goes relatively quick. Other times it takes some time. Okay, as you notice over there, quite a few bubbles came out. Hopefully you could see me. I'm literally just lifting the shaft. I don't know if you can see me do that. Maybe the camera's in the wrong position. All right, now it's getting a little frothy. I got to let all those little bubbles climb to the top. And you'll notice this is just going to get more and more bubbles on the top over here. If you could even see that part, to be honest, I'm not sure. Okay. Another thing we're listening for is squishy noises too, right? We want no squishy noises inside. Vacuum and suction and pressure is by far the best way to bleed shocks, forks, brakes, especially brakes in my opinion. What the? Where did that little bug come from? Come on. Oh, there's a big one. There it goes. See, they'll collect and they will come up, guys. This is just patience. Give it patience. Don't think or don't assume on this, right? Just because you haven't seen a bubble in a couple of actuations, ultimately they are in there. and let these float to the top. Come on, head up. There we go. Up, up, up. All right. Down, press the shaft up. There you go, still more in there. I don't know how long this camera is going to last, to be honest. See, more big ones in there. Just when you think you're done, you're not. And it's getting a little bit frothy. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a lot of little bubbles. You got to let those bubbles climb or else they'll just get back in there. And even all those little bubbles climbing back up over here, all right? So I'm going to keep on doing this. This is just a repeat. Might take 1, 2, 3, 4 more minutes, right? Ultimately, just repeat until there are no bubbles in there, until you see no bubbles after about, let's say, 10 full fluctuation or cycles. Okay, I will be back in order to start the last part, part 3. And I'm back. So I was at it for about 4 more minutes. We have pressed on multiple times, and no matter what I do, cycle the shaft, nothing is coming out that I could see, okay? So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna press down, make sure the shaft is fully extended, expand the bladder, and let it completely relax, all right? Then you're gonna grab a piece of paper towel, put it around, we're gonna unscrew, get your bleed port ready. We're gonna unscrew. And that's why you wear your goggles. All right, and now we're going to put our bleed screw back in. Let's soak up the oil. And now for part 3, what we're going to do is we're going to cycle the shaft 20 times up and down fast, okay? Let me move this guy out of here for now. Right, so 20 times up and down fast. 1, oops, make them a little bit tighter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and then leave them up. Now, we need to let them sit here for the better part of 5 to 10 minutes in order for all those bubbles that we just created to go to the top. But instead of holding this thing, that's why I like doing it on the vise better, what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of towel, just fold it up just like that. Okay, put a rubber band over it, just like that. All right, and what we're going to do is take the rubber band, put it over here, and then put it right underneath the shaft. And now we're hands-free. We can let this thing sit here for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, somewhere in there. The whole goal, again, to let all that froth dissipate and go to the top and create big bubbles on the top that we could suck out. All right, so I will be back. It's been about 5 or so minutes. I've let this thing sit here. All right, so the next step is we're going to take off the rubber band. All right, we're going to slowly extend the shaft all the way. Then we're going to put the syringe back in. Right, to put the syringe back in, unscrew the bleed bolt. Careful here, nothing should come out. But if you can notice, there's no air in there. I mean, there's no oil at the top, right? That means we have an air bubble. So now we're going to take the syringe, we're going to put it in. We shouldn't have any air in it, minimal air, basically that's nothing. Okay, we're going to put this guy in, make sure all your fittings are on tight. Okay, now do not press down, pick up the shaft. Let's push the air that's trapped on top into the syringe first. There you go. Okay, there's a little micro bubble there. And now it's really important to let these bubbles go all the way up. You do not want them coming back down into the damper. All right, so now we're going to press the syringe in order to let the damper fill up and push the shaft all the way down. Then again, pick up the shaft. We see no bubbles. Repeat this about, I don't know, 5 to 10 times in there. Okay. If you continuously see bubbles, then you have to go to the beginning of step 3, which is close it all up again with a bleed screw, cycle it 20 times super quick or super quick fast, let it sit, compress it, let it sit there for another 5 minutes or so, and then do this again, okay? But right now, we are looking pretty good. I'm thinking that little bubble, or that set of bubbles that came out, pretty much did it for us. Oh, I see one little bubble there. There you go. See what I mean? That was a real small one. Okay, and make sure there's no bubbles floating around in the middle. Make sure they go up before you sink it in again. Oh, there's one. Right now, again, guys, we're going for micro bubbles over here. Really, really small ones. And the pickier you are, the better off you will be. Okay. Right now, I am looking good. I don't see anything. Even if I try and force it out, I see nothing. I don't hear anything. It sounds real clean in there. So let's end this for now and test them. And what we're going to do next is press down, make sure the shaft is all the way down. Press down, expand the bladder, all right? And then let go. Let it rest to its natural position. And then again, what we are going to do, remove the syringe. Oil will come out. Watch out. Might want to burst out. Oop, there you go. That's why you wear your glasses, guys. Then we're going to take our bleed screw and we are going to put it in. All right. Finger tight. Don't over tighten it. Let's soak up whatever oil's on top for now. And next we test them. So in order to test them, we are going to cycle them. Quiet. I don't hear any kind of slushing sound, no noises whatsoever. Dead silent. Now we're going to test out the compression. So we have our rebound knob and our compression knob, right? So we were in a fully open position. We're going to take it, bring it 2 clicks. Well, actually, yeah, 2 clicks to the lockout position. And he should not move a millimeter. Whew, solid. Okay, one thing to note. On the Raceday dampers, if you put it into lock mode and it is bled right and it does not compress, it keeps on sinking, there technically is a seal in here in the compression stack. That seal burst. That's a bit of an issue. If you're under warranty, Rockshox will replace the entire damper. But if you're not under warranty, they don't sell that seal. In fact, you're pretty much done. You're going to have to get a new damper. Technically, this is fixable, but it's not an easy fix. They don't sell the seal that I know of, at least. You're going to have to send it into Rockshox to fix it. But again, most likely, they'll just either sell you a new damper. Maybe they'll fix it. I'm not 100% sure. But I know under warranty, they will cover it, okay? So we know our lockout works. Again, back into compression. Now what we can do is test our rebound. So rebound is in a fully open position, right? I can pull it down easily. Let's click this all the way to lockout. Well, lockout to full rebound. Oof, whoa, that's super hard. That is not coming down easy. Let's put it back to the fully open. There we go. And boom, nice and easy. All right. So this thing is great. Now, one thing to note, clean this area over here because This part of the Raceday damper is fully exposed, and we had oil in there, and it will collect dirt and dust like a magnet. So make sure you throw alcohol in there and clean it out. In fact, we don't need this. We're going to put that in permanently later. And that is it. There is one more seal to change, and we are going to grab our C1 air kit or damper kit. These are the only 3 seals, but they're for the RL. We just need that seal over there. If you want to change it, technically you don't have to, and you could keep this kit intact for, well, if you have an RL come your way one day. So let me grab this guy out of here. Let's grab a piece of cloth, just clean the seat. All right. Make sure there's no dirt in there. Got to clean. If we want, we can put a little bit of butter just to keep them fresh. And we take them and we put them on. Oh, come on. Just like that. All right. Put this guy on the side. And then we take our damper. We put it back in. Screw them in by hand. Always by hand first. All right. We're in. Let's grab our, I don't need these guys, flat socket, 24 millimeter. It's 24, right? Yes. 24 millimeter. Grab our wrench, our ratchet. Screw them down as much as you can until it's hard. Come on. They really don't give you enough meat. Okay. Torque wrench, once again, 28 Newton meters. And we should already be there from before. On the air side, let's put them on. And where you at? Oop. There we go. 28.4. All right. So now we grab our knob, and in the fully open position, he was positioned somewhere around here. Make sure he fits in, just like that. Grab our 2 millimeter, grab our 2 millimeter Allen, finger tight. We don't have to make this guy, he's just a set screw. Make sure he works. Yes, he does. And folks, our damper is done. Now let's finish up the rest of the 50-hour service. For the rest of the 50-hour service, we're going to take our lower leg kit and we're going to take everything out, right? So I have the new sag ring. I'm just going to put it over here. I have my wipers. Now, contrary to popular belief, yes, grease goes in the wipers. In fact, they come pre-installed with grease, and sometimes the crush washers get stuck in them, all right? So what we want to do is take the crush washers and make sure you clean all the grease off of them. We don't want any grease on these guys. We want the tightest connection between the crush washers, the lower legs, and our bolts. And one of our nuts. All right, so make sure that they are free of all grease. Do not want any grease whatsoever on these guys. Okay, and I'm going to put these underneath 2 bolts over here so we can prep them. Now, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to open up our little container that's had our foam rings soaking. We're going to take our foam rings. Watch out for that little piece of dirt, right? We're going to take them and we're going to put them in and make sure he's sitting flat without being twisted all the way at the bottom. Make sure he's sitting evenly at the bottom, just like that. And there's no dirt on that. Yep, the dirt fell in. Cool. And we'll take the second one. And again, put them in flat on the bottom. All right. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our wiper. We're going to take out the rings, the metal retaining rings, retention rings. Okay. And then we're going to take a little bit of grease. We're just going to coat them on the outside. Thin coat of grease on the outside. Okay. That's one. And that is two. And then grab our wiper installation tool, put the wiper on there. This is a 35 millimeter, right? We're going to take them, and usually with these, you can do them by hand easily. Done. One and two. Now, since we have the opportunity, let's clean any grease that or oil that fell out on the backside, because it's much easier to get it now. We're going to do this again in a sec, but okay. Now what I do is I take grease and I fill up the concave part. Somebody messaged me saying, no, you should never do that. Okay, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. The reason I do it, not only does it create an added moisture barrier, but it helps with keeping the foam ring wet and lubricated, as well as the top bushing greased up, because it's that top bushing that sees the least amount of oil, because, well, most people have their bike standing up, and most of those oils sit down. That's a really nice thing about inverted shocks, and hopefully one day somebody's going to figure out how to make inverted shocks the standard, if they can make it stiff enough for everybody. Okay, so again, clean anything on the outside. Now we assemble. Before we connect the top to the bottom, we're going to take our bumper. This is our air side, crown in front, air side on the left. This concave part stays up. The flat part stays on the bottom, right? And we're going to take this guy. Actually, what we can do is just do them like this. And we'll put them all together, one piece, right? Next, we're going to take our sag ring and throw out the old one. That one's dry. I gotta feel how dry that was. And we're going to put on the new one. Oh. There we go. Bring that all the way up. And then we're going to take our two metal retaining rings. One, and we're going to put them two. All right. So, serial number facing up, crown facing down. And what we're going to do is slip this guy in here, get one side going, and then wiggle in the other side. This is much easier with the retaining rings off, okay? Then just compress them. Just like that. All right. We are at the end. We're going to do next, we'll take our retaining ring, try and get it in by hand. Where is my little pick? Can I do it by hand? Ooh, so close. I don't need my pick. Where's my pick? Hey, where's my pick? Oh, well. I got my little wooden skewer. Doesn't get any safer than that, to be honest. Grab this guy here and just go all the way around until he is in, just like that. All right, next, let's prep our bolts, then fill the syringe in order to fill them up with oil. First, we're going to prep our nut. Okay, we're going to take crush washer and we're going to put it inside, just like that. Leave it on the side. Then, let's clean up this guy here first so we can see what we're doing. We have a crush washer inside that we're going to need to remove. And these could be a bit of a pain sometimes. Come on. You got to dig in there and pop them out. But sometimes they get stuck in there real good. Like this one is. Oh boy. Okay, I grab a thinner pick. This guy was in there real tight. I needed a real fine pick to get underneath. And once he's underneath, we want to lift him up. And this guy's probably not going to want to lift up easily. So I'm going to try and get him as equally as I can all the way around, just like that. And then grab a needle nose. And hopefully, come on, I swear these bolts, at least I'm able to get underneath them better now. For crying out loud. There we go. Like I said, these could be a pain sometimes. Sometimes they come off easy. Other times they do not come off easy at all. Like this one here is going to be stubborn. I feel it. Probably going to stab myself. Okay. Let's see. Oh, come on, man. Look at this. This guy's wedged in there real good, guys. So this could happen to you too, right? If it happens to you, just give it some time. Try and separate them from the top best you can, and then grab a needle nose plier and break them off, stretch them off. That should be enough. There we go. Work them all the way around. Wow, this guy's really tightly in there. Jeez. If I didn't know better, I'd say it's the wrong size or something. Okay, nearly there. Finally. Ugh, get them out of here. So now, let's clean them good. Make sure we got a nice grease-free connection. All right. And we are ready. Next, let's fill them with oil. Next, we grab our syringe. On each side, we have to put 10 milliliters of 0W30 or Maxima heavy oil. All right, so it'd be 10 millimeters on each side. That's close enough. Now, we need to make sure that we have space. So in this case, this guy's sticking out. So I got to separate him a little bit to give him some space, just like that, in order to be able to put the oil inside. Grab him and sink him in, just like that. All right, that's one. Make sure he's all the way down, and 10 milliliters on the air side. All right. Now, I'm going to go in there. Make sure there's no oil sitting at the base. We're going to take this guy. We're going to bring him in. Okay, that's one. We need to get both of them in. So, right now I only got one in. Let me move this guy out of the way before I make a mess. Okay. There we go. Okay, he's sticking out. And this guy's at the base. So first we're going to start off with our nut, because he's going to be the harder of the two. Oh, I'm right here. Grab our 10 millimeter. We have our crush washer in there. Now the crush washer might want to fall out, so be careful it doesn't fall out. Where is he? Okay, actually he's on this side. So what we're going to do, camera overheated on me. I've been having a lot of issues with that this past 2-3 sessions. Screw this by hand all the way. Once you can't do it by hand anymore, grab the ratchet. Tight. Well, not too tight. We're going to torque it down. Then repeat the process for the air side. 5 millimeter Allen. Make sure you're in the hole. There we go. Okay, as tight as I get it by hand. All right. Now we torque them down. 6.8 Newton meters. Make sure you find screw. Make sure you're straight. Come on. There we go. Well, 7.2, not that far off. And then we do the same thing with 10 millimeter. Make sure he's on here, and oops, sorry for moving the camera. 6.95. Done. Rebound knob. Put them in, and we said pop them in 13 turns, 13 clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Next, we fill them with air. As far as air, every 50 PSI, we want to cycle them up and down about a half dozen to a dozen times to balance out both chambers, right? So I'm at 21. I'm just going to bring it out to 50, and I will cycle it separately, but just to give you guys an idea. All right. So now when we hit 50, what we would do is make sure it's disconnected. And then you would put this part on the ground, and then like this, we would, I don't want to do it on the table because I don't want to wreck the table, and then we would go up and down and balance both sides, okay? And then when that's done, spray them down. Alcohol, grab a paper towel. Clean up all the old oil from everywhere. Well, I mean all the new oil or excess grease, I should say, from everywhere. And ta-da! And there you go, folks. You just finished fully servicing a Rockshox SID Ultimate fork with a Raceday damper. Again, this is a super easy job, guys. There is no reason why you guys should not be regularly servicing your fork if you own these SID forks. They are super easy. In particular, this version, this Ultimate, is mega easy to do, okay? Do not let your forks go dry inside. Please, just 50 hours, 60 hours, 70 hours, just don't let them go dry. You saw these things. The foam rings were dry. That is so bad, and the reality is he does have damage on the lower bushing on the air side, which is, I'd say, semi-significant. And that could be avoided just by a regular service. Like I said, you don't have to do the damper oil, although it's easy enough. There's no other seals to change, right? But ultimately, a 50-hour goes a long way when it comes to forks and shocks. In my opinion, the best bang for the buck service you could do is the 50-hour. If you do it regularly, you don't even have to change out your wipers. Just change out the foam rings. You buy them in bulk, change them out, and you're good. Wipers, they could last quite a while. I usually go 3-4 services without changing wipers, right? Because those could get expensive if you keep on changing them. But the fresher you keep them, the better, the longer they last. That's all it comes down to, all right? Oh, one more thing to note. After your first few uses, excess grease will come out of the wipers, right? Just make sure to wipe off the stanchions from it so too much dirt doesn't collect and make the wiper's job harder than it needs to be. It's going to take about 4 or 5, maybe 6 rides. By 10 rides, you'll be absolutely done with the majority of it, okay? Chances are by 6 rides you will, but you never know. All right? So, folks, if you liked the video, please click the like button. Click the subscribe button to see more videos. Click the bell button, bing, 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 in order to get notified when videos get released, and more videos are coming, folks, all right? So, until then, hope all is well with all of you, and we will be talking to you soon. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.